Welcome to the Christmas edition of Noir Alley. I'm your host, Eddie Muller, here to put a little cruel in your Yule. Consider today's movie a lump of coal in your holiday stocking. But thanks to a suspense-filled screenplay and a pair of gifted actors, this lump of coal ends up shining bright as a diamond. From 1952, it's Beware, My Lovely. Now, the script for this 77-minute thriller is by Mel Donnelly, whose feature film work was exclusive to the noir era. Starting in 1945, he wrote a string of terrific screenplays, including The Spiral Staircase, The Window, House by the River, Cause for Alarm, Jeopardy, and the best of the bunch, The Reckless Moment. They're all nail-biting yarns, some original, some adaptations. Today's movie is based on what was by far Donnelly's most successful original story. In fact, it was a multimedia phenomenon. The story debuted on the radio program Suspense in 1945, starring Frank Sinatra and Agnes Moorehead. Now, it was successful enough to get a second production in 1949, starring Gene Kelly, Ethel Barrymore, and William Conrad. Donnelly then turned it into a short story entitled The Man, good enough to earn a spot in several of 1949's best short story anthologies. So on a roll, Donnelly transformed The Man into a three-act play, which ran on Broadway with Dorothy Gish as the female lead. Many stage versions followed, worldwide, including one with Gene Kelly as the unhinged male protagonist. Well, seeing the big screen potential of The Man, Ida Lupino snapped up the movie rights, and she had Donnelly do the adaptation himself. So, if you're keeping score, that's a radio show, a short story, a stage play, and a movie script, the writer's hat trick, and then some. It would later be adapted twice for television. If the technology had existed, it probably would have been turned into a video game. At the time she made Beware, My Lovely, Ida Lupino was more interested in making movies than in acting in them. In 1949, she'd formed a production company called The Filmmakers with her husband, writer-producer Collier Young. And by 1951, Lupino had 3 pictures under her belt as a director: Never Fear, Outrage, and Hard, Fast, and Beautiful, plus uncredited work as a director on several others. But to finance the films she wanted to make, which often had daring subject matter, Lupino continued to play the role of movie star, often taking a profit percentage on pictures she acted in and produced, like Beware, My Lovely.
It's really none of my business. But you know, if you keep things too long within yourself, you forget how to share your troubles with others. You shut everyone away from you, as you're doing now.
The previous year, she'd co-starred in the RKO drama On Dangerous Ground, playing a blind woman trying to soothe the savage psyche of a big city cop, played by Robert Ryan. The two had a dynamic, contrasting chemistry. Lupino's petite porcelain delicacy played against the seething intensity of the rugged 6'3" Ryan. For this film, I doubt Lupino considered anyone else for the role of Howard Wilton, an itinerant handyman who, over the course of one long day, veers between sympathetic and psychopathic. Howard is the kind of character Ryan played better than anyone, combining frightening ferocity with unexpected vulnerability. As scary as they often were, Ryan's characters were never one-dimensional. His signature skill as an actor was eliciting empathy for angry, damaged souls.
I've been in so many towns, so many places. I can't ever remember anyone caring about me.
Now, as a producer, Ida Lupino rarely allowed Ida Lupino, the director, to work with Ida Lupino, the actress. When she was behind the camera, Lupe, or Grandma, as her crews called her, had superstitious rituals. She always carried a strip of film from the first movie she directed. She always wore a uniform of baggy blouse, chinos, and a red jockey's cap. She didn't feel right directing in the character's clothes. Now, The Bigamist, made in 1953, was the exception, where she directed herself in a romantic triangle with Edmund O'Brien and Joan Fontaine. But that picture didn't call for the sustained intensity required for the role of Mrs. Helen Gordon, a war widow terrorized by her newly hired handyman. So Lupino turned Beware My Lovely over to 40-year-old Harry Horner, a production designer new to the director's chair. Horner had won an Oscar for his design of 1949's The Heiress, and he'd previously worked with Lupino, the director, on her second picture, Outrage, in 1950. Immediately after that assignment, he designed another claustrophobic noir, He Ran All the Way, the final film made by Lupino's good pal, John Garfield. Horner and Robert Ryan probably got on famously since they both studied under legendary theater director Max Reinhardt. Horner had also been an actor before becoming a full-time production designer for theater and opera, as well as the movies. RKO's resident art director, Albert D'Agostino, may be listed in the credits, but the set design and decor in Beware My Lovely was all the work of Harry Horner, and he obsessed over it. The story's set in 1918, immediately after the First World War, and Helen Gordon's home is filled with accurate period detail, right down to the wattles, rain trees, crockets, newels, and antimacassars. All of it beautifully photographed by George Discant, RKO's preeminent noir cinematographer. One thing Horner didn't need to build was the home's central staircase. It appeared in many RKO films of the era, left over from Orson Welles' 1942 production, The Magnificent Ambersons. Originally called in its first 3 incarnations The Man, tentatively retitled The Ragged Edge, and then Day Without End, before finally being released by RKO boss Howard Hughes a year after its completion and saddled with a new lurid title more to his taste, here is Beware My Lovely.